Halo Infinite was supposed to be the stalwart release for the new Microsoft console, the Xbox One Super X Series S Division 3. However, due to delays, the game did not release with the new console, which probably wasn't the worst thing because it gave time for the developers to, finish the game, which is always good when you try and release a game. And due to the
COVID pandemic
and supply chain issues, many people were not even able to get the new console to begin with. So having a new Halo release to boost console sales while not even being able to meet the demand for people wanting to buy the new console seems counterintuitive. However, in December of 2021, Halo Infinite finally released, albeit in several stages. As the game came out, it seemed to be met with largely positive feedback for a number of reasons. However, as time has gone on, that seems to have soured, with some of the community being especially vocal about their displeasure with the game, especially the multiplayer aspects of the game. Now, this might be because I follow several Halo YouTubers, both just community people like Mint Blitz, Sean W, Late Night Gaming, and iSpiteful, and then some Halo professional players like Lucid or Snipedown. I do think that part of the negativity comes from the fact that it's better for the old YouTube analytics to be critical and cause some drama with your statements rather than to be middle of the road with your criticism. No one wants to tune in to hear a guy say, "It was okay," as their final statements for a game, rather than something crazy about how 343 killed Halo and how the entire franchise is going into the toilet or something like that. So mostly I'm just trying to categorize the major complaints that I have heard, and I'm mostly going to be talking about multiplayer primarily. I personally just can't be bothered with most of the complaints about the campaign. In general, I thought the campaign was fun. I liked the open world aspects of it, I liked the new storyline and the move away from the sort of Cortana Forerunner-ish nonsense, and I like the overall gameplay loop that occurs throughout the game. However, here are some common criticisms that I have heard. Number 1. The story. I've heard people talk about the storyline not being good because the one badass brute from the beginning fake dies at the beginning off screen, and apparently he's from like Halo Wars, and I never played those games because RTS games are really boring to me, but I just can't also keep track of all the lore nonsense of the Halo series in order to really care at all. I played the shit out of the mainline Halo games, but everything else is on the periphery to me. The top-down games, there's arcade games, the other RTS games, the books, the comics, the shows just don't matter to me. So a lot of the deeper, quote-unquote, parts of the storyline just don't resonate. To me, I think Halo is a good sci-fi story with the basic building blocks like the Covenant, the Halo systems, and the Flood, and the UNSC, and everything else is just nonsensical, so it's not worth trying to keep track of. At the core, Halo is about running around and shooting aliens. And to me, the campaign does that pretty well. Number 2, repetitive. A lot of the aesthetics and the levels and missions in the campaign are repetitive. This is true. To me, the overall campaign is not long enough for that to really affect my overall enjoyment of the game. Also, there are very few AAA games that I have played in the last few years that I've not had that feeling about. Repetition is an integral part of the gameplay loop, but I do agree that if some parts of Zeta Halo look different in order to mix up the open world, I think that would be better. Maybe that will come later in a DLC or Forge mode or something like that, but I can understand that criticism overall. Number 3, the boss battles. Some people say they're too easy. Some people say they're too hard. I guess that probably just depends on you and the difficulty you play on and how you approach those bosses, so I don't really know what to say about that. Number 4, the aesthetics. People don't like the way the enemies look. They don't like the open world. They don't like anything that changes. Halo is a game that suffers hard from comparison syndrome, with people always complaining about how the game isn't Halo CE or 2 or 3 or Reach, or whichever one happens to be their favorite at the time. People really like those games, so when something is different, like fighting the Banished rather than fighting the Covenant or the Flood, people are going to constantly compare and complain about those differences. Anyway, those are just some general things about the campaign, but I think I've heard more noise about multiplayer than anything else. I think the interesting thing is that I just very rarely care about the complaints that people make, which is why I'm making this video in the first place. Most of the complaints people have don't really matter to my enjoyment of the game. People spend so much time complaining about things that I just don't get. So I'm sure someone is going to say that I have copium or that I'm a 343 shill or something like, but in reality, I think a lot of the time people are just complaining because they want to complain about something. There are people who love Halo who will never be happy with the Halo game because it's not how they remembered playing Halo when they were kids. But here's a compiled list of some of the complaints I have heard. Number 1, the gameplay. People miss player impact, especially with Melee and how that works. This can be frustrating. Some people think that they ruined the battle rifle. I watched one video essay where a guy talked for like an hour about the battle rifle alone, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Some people think they ruined the plasma pistol. Some people like the Mangler before it was patched and don't like it since it's been nerfed. Some people think that the sniper is bad because they cannot use it well. Some people don't like the electric weapons like the disruptor or the shock rifle. There can be various glitches in lots of ways like desync or netcode issues or weapon jamming. I saw one video where a guy said that weapon jamming makes the game literally unplayable, but I don't think I've ever had the weapon jamming glitch happen to me. Like, not once. Or if it did, I didn't even notice it, so maybe it's not that bad? I don't know, seems like a little bit of a stretch to say it made the game unplayable. There can be difficulty finding a game, especially if you're outside of the US. All these things are definitely issues in one way or another. Some of the balancing issues are going to happen in every single game, and the fact that they can go in and fix them is a positive thing, along with working out the playlist to make sure that everybody can find a game, but I guess those are all problems. Number 2, the live service. So as Halo Infinite was releasing, 343 said that this was the basis for the next 10 years to build upon, since live service is the cool thing to do in gaming these days. Expansions, DLCs, and battle passes are just on par for the course for every single game. I think that people who complain about live service aspects of this game in particular maybe just haven't played other live service games before. So I played Warzone for like 4 seasons, Apex Legends for 2, and Fortnite for like a week and a half. I think those are the games that Halo is essentially copying for their multiplayer business model. Those games have events and cosmetics, and some things are locked behind a paywall. Halo, I think, is pretty much the same, with one exception being the challenge system, which I'll talk a little bit about later on. But people always talk like there's nothing being added and no reason for people to stick around and play Halo because it's a barren desert of content, pushing true fans to leave the series forever. While at launch, there was only a few options for multiplayer, since there have been quite a few updates to address that. There's Slayer, SWAT, King of the Hill, Fiesta, Big Team, Ranked, Last Spartan Standing, Rumble Pit, Free For All, and Quick Play, with a general mix of modes, along with new modes being added through events and everything else. I feel like there's a pretty solid amount of options now. Granted, that has come slowly over time. I get that criticism at launch, but I still feel like I hear people complaining about the game modes or lack of content or something like that. Everyone has a favorite game mode from a past game that they want to get added in, like Infection or Strongholds or Griffball or whatever. From the company's perspective though, adding in these game modes throughout the life cycle of the game is a way to keep players around. This is their version of a live service to release these game modes and events with cosmetics tied to them. I feel like it's pretty much the same thing that Warzone does with random additions or subtractions to their maps, random events with Godzilla or something, and maybe slight changes to the Battle Royale base of the game. Same with Fortnite adding in random differences, and that game's been popular for like 5 years. I feel like people don't understand the release schedule for live service games, and they expect so much from Halo that when it's pretty much releasing the same amount of content as other games are now, it just doesn't make sense to them. Now, I do think they started with a pretty bare bones version of the game. It should have launched with more content, but I don't think that live service is the problem with that. I think that that's added things in over time, and that's a good thing. Number 3, Battle Pass and progression. Jesus Christ. This is the one that really grinds my gears. People whine so much about the challenge system for no apparent reason. Again, at launch, the system was a little ridiculous. It took so long to make actual progress through the Battle Pass, even when you were trying to do the challenges, that it just really wasn't worth the amount of effort to try and complete them. However, they've changed that and added in bonus challenges for just playing games every single day, and the challenges have largely gotten easier as well. People don't like the challenges because they require you to play the game a certain way in order to earn the experience. However, I will counter this by saying you can easily get to top level in your battle pass by simply playing games and getting the experience from those. You do not have to go after any challenges if you do not want to, and you can still get to level 100 in like 3 or 4 months by playing whatever playlist you want with whatever weapons or vehicles, anything like that. For me, I like these challenges because it gives me an incentive to play different modes. It populates those game modes, and I kind of like the carrot on a stick aspect of challenges. I mean, I've spent way too much time playing games solely for achievement score, so that's just kind of how I work, I guess. I think they're fun. Sometimes they're annoying, but I've never run into a challenge so difficult or frustrating that it upset me. You can just stop going after those challenges, you could use a challenge swap, or if you just wait a week, they're all going to reset anyway. You can also use double XP tokens as well. I think currently I have like 57 double XP tokens, and I have no idea how I got so many. If I really wanted to, I could grind through the entire battle pass even faster just by using those. So I don't understand why people complain so much about the challenges. In the event system, like the Tenrai Fracture or whatever it was called in Season 1 or Entrenched in Season 2, cosmetics are tied to challenges as well. These are timed events, so there's a little bit more pressure to complete these in a timely manner. But I've gotten to the end of all of these mini battle passes without any struggle because so many of the challenges are easy to complete, like completing a game or just getting a certain number of kills total, no matter how many games it takes you. Some of them will take a little bit of time and a little bit of dedication, but they're not difficult. I think people just get mad because they don't want to do the challenges to get the pretty armor or helmet or visor or whatever they want, so they get mad that they have to work a little bit harder, but that's literally the entire point of a challenge, so I just don't get it. When I played other games with battle passes, I never even came close to completing one of them, even with the systems in place where you receive experience for your kills, your medals, winning the game, etc. Those incremental chunks were so small that I could only get part way through them before the season ended. Halo Infinite at least let me actually finish the first battle pass. To me, I think the system is working then. I have time and effort, and I got the rewards, which is what a battle pass system should do. But clearly, some people don't like it, and that's fine. But I think we can all agree that there are bigger things to worry about in the game than the fucking battle pass. In the end, it's all secondary content. The gameplay is not affected by the battle pass at all. It's just so you can dress up your little digital soldier in a way that you like. I don't get the amount of attention that people pay to the battle pass. Number 4. The game doesn't have the thing that I like. Co-op, Forge, Firefight, a better theater mode, custom browser, the gunner vehicle from that other game, that map from the other game. Everyone has a list of things that they like that are on the docket for being added to the game. It's frustrating that some of those things were not included at launch, particularly Forge. Forge is something that creates content for the game. It lets users do the work for the developers and make maps and game modes and add in creative new ideas. So it seems like this should be the top priority to get completed because it helps the game survive in its life cycle. Here's the thing. I don't know anything about game development, and neither do 99% of Halo fans. It's really easy to say that Forge should be a top priority and it should have been launched with the game, but the reality of actually doing that on next-gen hardware and PC might be really difficult. In fact, all of these are kind of huge updates in their own way. They should be developed quickly, but also you can't be like a dinosaur game fan. Games are not how they used to be. That's a fact. Halo 3 is a tiny fraction of the amount of data and work that is Halo Infinite. These things take time and money, and video game companies are businesses that are only in it for the goal of making money. A realistic understanding of that is key, rather than taking it personally, like you just saw somebody kick your puppy because they put out a Halo without Forge, or without the plasma rifle or fuel rod cannon, or without Guardian as a map option. What do you expect? That's how games work now. Number 5, the broader audience. A lot of people complain because Halo Infinite was trying to appeal to a broader audience. And I might just say something a little crazy here, but of course they fucking were. Every game developer in the world wants to be successful and to find people that enjoy their game and want to play it. Now, how Halo goes about trying to appeal to an audience can cause issues when they totally change the fundamental portions of their game in order to do so, like in Halo 4. But I don't think that Halo Infinite does that. What did they do in multiplayer that turned the game into some sort of corporate shill type effect? Do they have a Mountain Dew armor coating that I don't know about? Is there a tie-in with Disney characters that I miss? Do they make characters out of Slipknot? What has happened that shows Halo is slipping into this broader audience mindset? Yeah, there's a TV show. I didn't watch it. I'm never gonna watch it. I value my time too much to waste it on TV shows or movies based on video games. Newsflash, they're never good. Never. Can you name any other TV show based on a video game? I'll give you a second. Well, I Googled it myself, and it turns out there are quite a few that I didn't really know any of them. I guess The Witcher is the most acclaimed, but does that really count since it's based on a book? And most of the rest are animated ones about like League of Legends or Cuphead or Castlevania. They might be great, but I don't think they're breaking into a huge casual audience like what the Halo TV show is supposed to do. But also, the TV show doesn't affect the game at all in any way. It's fun to make fun of apparently, but it does not show some secret evil direction from the company or something. Just chill out. I can't point to any single aspect of the actual gameplay that they were trying to make it more casual or appeal to a broad audience. Number 6, the store. People didn't like the price of the items, so 343 changed the price of the items. Who fucking cares? It's a store. Buy the stuff if you want. So those are just some of the complaints I've heard consistently in the Halo community. I don't think that the problem is necessarily with the game. I think it might have something to do with the community itself. There's a strange level of obsession within the Halo community that I don't know if I've seen in other games. For instance, I know multiple names of people who work for 343 solely because of how much people talk directly about them and what they say and do on a nearly daily basis. Can I tell you a single person who works for Respawn Entertainment? Infinity Ward? What about game companies that I really love, like Dodge Roll or Cardboard Computer? I cannot, because that's a little weird. The Halo subreddit had to get locked down because of doxing and death threats related to the game. People are losing their minds over a game that is just a perfectly normal game. It's like people place so much value onto the name Halo, probably because of those rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia and the fact that it only releases once every 5 to 6-ish years, that when anything changes, they were never going to be happy. What they want more than anything is to be 12 years old and playing Halo 2 again, and that's never going to happen. I don't want to play games with those people. I don't think their opinion matters at all. If it was really as bad as they present it, then they should probably just find another hobby or play a different video game. Maybe they shouldn't be spending so much time online. And I want to make it clear, it's okay to criticize something and be critical of it. It's totally okay to not like Halo Infinite or think it's a shitty game. It's totally okay to love Halo and think that Halo Infinite is bad. I think I'm a pretty nitpicky person, especially if you watch any of the game reviews on my channel. But my problem is this godlike pedestal that people put Halo on, and then there will never, ever be a Halo that reached the idea of Halo that they have in their mind. And those people need to take a step back and realize that what they have in their head is not really what reality is. And that's mostly just sad at the end of the day. Also, the game's fucking free to play. You don't even have to pay for it. And the campaign's included in Game Pass, so I didn't even pay directly for that. I mean, fuck. Just go play Splitgate or something. Boot up the old Xbox, slap in your OG copy of Combat Evolved, and just play that if it makes you that mad. Relax. Bye.